Well, we are just a couple days out as we record this from a really cool drop from Riot Games, and by the time you're watching this, you can go listen to it right now. I am joined by Broden Plett, my creative director, because I am not great at music things. I know how to consume it and listen to it, and I love it, but I don't know anything about it, really. And the two of us today are joined by Toa Dunn, who is the head of the Riot Music Group and works on a whole lot of the cool projects that so many of you watching have heard before. Of course, this interview brought to you by Alienware. So Toa, what has dropped? What is everybody able to listen to as of right now?
Yeah, so it's a music experience that we're calling Sessions Vi. And so really what it's mainly is it's focused on a catalog of music that fits within kind of focus music, vibes that you chill and listen to, which includes kind of lo-fi, easy listening jazz, collaborating with a lot of talented artists in this space. And it's really just meant for kind of, our players, content creators, especially, given the complexities of just like using music. But we wanted to give, we're really passionate about this type of music, and we want to just like kind of drop a cool catalog of music that people can kind of, whether you play TFT at 11 p.m. at night, or if you just want to focus and study on something, like this is music you can have in the background and just really vibe to.
Yeah, and I'm going to toss over to Broden in a couple minutes here just to ask about the tracks, because we had a chance to listen to some of them in advance just now. But before we do that, I mean, what you mentioned that this was somewhat inspired by, trying to help with the complexities around DMCA and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you can talk to me a bit about the origin story of this. Like, I don't know if this was just you seeing Twitch DMCAs hit streamers and you're like, what can we do for this? Or how this came about, especially, because I understand this was something where you worked with some artists and collab to create this.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've noticed, for a few years now, in fact, that, when it comes to music and copyright, like you said, it's complex, and you've seen it across multiple platforms as people kind of try to figure out how can you use really high quality music with your content. We've been fortunate enough that we've had a kind of stream friendly playlist that contains just kind of League of Legends music that we fully 100% own. And so we can kind of allow players, our community to use that music. But with kind of more of this growing and just our love and passion, both in this space for this type of music, a bunch of us on the music team, as well as just other rioters, always kind of talking about, lo-fi became a thing. Everybody was talking about, and we were always looking at just like how can we increase our catalog of music in a way that like players could just really dive into the space and help our community. So eventually it just kind of all came together of like, whoa, what if we worked with really cool talented artists in this space, kind of introduce them to our world. In this drop, Vi kind of in her apartment during different parts of the kind of evening as she kind of decompresses is like our aesthetic and our theme, and just really get to know some of these artists and figure out like, hey, what would inspire you, with your music, your talent to kind of create music in this space. And then us just really focusing on like figuring out what is the overall music experience. Again, we call it a music experience because it's not going to be just music. We think of it as like, what are all the things, as someone who sits down and plays TFT at 1 a.m., like what are all the things that they would love to kind of engage with? And so it's a campaign, but it's also just supposed to be a fun experience, come chill and vibe with us. That's really what it's about.
I can tell you've been playing TFT at 11 p.m. a lot recently, just because you've mentioned it a couple times now. But I've been there myself. I'm also just before we were chatting before the start of the interview, and I had referred to this as like a lo-fi collection, but you mentioned, and I think a lot of people just kind of like categorize all this stuff as lo-fi, these like chill beats to listen to. But you mentioned that it's actually kind of a little bit broader than just the lo-fi side.
Yeah, everything from, more jazz inspired, easy listening. I mean, we really didn't want to restrict it to a specific genre or sound. I mean, lo-fi is very familiar to many of us. And sometimes when people say lo-fi, I think they're actually really thinking of a broader sense of it. But we just wanted to make sure, hey, it's super inclusive, like of anything we felt that hit this vibe. It's really more about the vibe that we wanted to fit. and kind of curate music and work with artists to create here. And so, I think these days genres are harder and harder to really kind of like everything blends, everything's inspired by it. So again, it doesn't even really matter for us. It's a vibe, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want people kind of walking away from and feeling.
Broden, I mean, I don't know if you have any questions based off of the stuff that we were able to listen to just now.
Yeah, I'm curious. Are we normally like lo-fi and this kind of thing have a lot of like sampling done? Can we expect any samples from League in this, or are we gonna hear like a Lux Ult in there?
Yeah, I think in this we really left it up to the artists to do that. We didn't want to come in and say like, hey, you got to make sure you put the Blitzcrank, sound in there or alt sound or anything like that. We really wanted them in their comfort zone to really, express themselves creatively. And not, again, we didn't want to be too much of like, it has to be this. We want it to be the best version for them. And so yeah, I don't think you'll really hear like very specific. There will be probably some things you may catch here and there that are like inspired by, right? Because again, a lot of these guys are super talented, sound designers or samplers. I think when we listen to kind of this broad genre of music, like it is sound design, it is music, it is aesthetic, it's kind of all of these things, right? And so it won't be too specific of like, hey, can you find the Lux Alt itself? But I think there'll be things here and there that you'll catch,
Also, I mean, it sounded like from the tracks that we listened to, like live, like studio players, like, is this, how many people are working on these things? Are these like, you give it to one artist and then they work with their network of musicians, or is this all kind of like internal Riot artists, or who's putting these together?
Yeah, a little bit different than some of our other like projects in the past, where it's not so much our internal team doing all the recording, right? We really, again, left it up to the artists. Some artists work with maybe a few, sessionists or, musicians on theirs. Some of them are total electronic, for example, that's just their soundscape and their flow for creating music. So you're going to hear everything. Some of them, I think one of the tracks you heard, like you can definitely tell, like it's mostly played live, right? Like this guy probably has a jazz background, and that's super cool. Myself included, like I came up through jazz. Jazz was like always my passion starting back in like junior high. So that really resonates to me when I hear this. I'm just like, wow, this guy's talented, and it's really cool that we can kind of raise that in this type of space. But you'll hear more electronic stuff too that's really cool as well, kind of with like more subtle drops in there, and you can hear the kind of electronic inspiration behind it in his production or their production. So it's all of it's there.
Awesome. I had one more question. You mentioned different phases when you were reaching out to artists. Were you giving them like each a phase in mind to aim for, or did you kind of say like, here's the vibe, and then once you got everything, kind of categorized it yourself?
Yeah, our team pretty much, is we pretty much came up with the three, right? So we really wanted it to be a listening session and experience, right? You press play and you're carried through this journey, and you're doing whatever it is, playing TFT or Wild Rift, whatever it is that you want to play at that time. But we want you to be able to turn it on, experience it. And so really the guidance that we gave them pretty much is like, imagine this part, kind of Vi in her apartment. She just got home from full days of work. She just needs to decompress or work or whatever it was, knocking things down. And, or the other session of, hey, she's just kind of sitting down now. She's decompressed. She's probably working on something. And you'll see the visuals that we actually have with this. But we didn't have those visuals fully locked. We really had to kind of build it up because all of this stuff was being created at the same time. But really, we just gave them kind of the inspiration. We let them kind of gravitate towards the ones that resonated with them the most. And then kind of took it from there, really. So it's kind of we try to set a visual and aesthetic vibe for them to kind of help inspire them, and then let them go, right? Because again, these guys are very talented, so we want them to really just lean into their talent on that stuff. So we're super happy with where a lot of this music came from. But yeah, we left it up to them to really how they wanted to gravitate towards one of the kind of scenes, if you want to call it, for that.
Yeah. I was
That's
surprised.
awesome,
I was surprised because you mentioned when we were talking, there's nearly 40 different tracks that are a part of this. Is tracks the right word, Broden? Am I embarrassing myself right now?
I would say
Good.
tracks. Yeah.
There 40 different tracks that are a part of this. What was the inspiration for going so big? Like I get that on YouTube, and I've listened to many of them. There are these hour plus long videos that just have all this, but I think a lot of people might have just dropped like, oh yeah, you could have just done 3, right? You could have just done like one for each of Vi's sessions. So what inspired to go so big?
Yeah, I mean, we had thought about that too, but more and more we came back to like, what is that ultimate listening experience? And our team and a lot of teams, we tend to kind of lean into what is the real experience we want. Like you said, I think if we thought of this as like a pure just product, for example, you spend the least amount, right, to an extent. So you just do the 3 songs to really just get what you need to. For us, it's not like, and this isn't tied to a product, right? You'll see with this too, is it's not fully tied. It's not tied to a skin line. There's almost no real business reason for us to do this, right? What it comes down to, because it's not about the business for us. It's like, we hear our community, we love music. This is the space that, especially the Riot music team always dives into. This is how we ended up with everything from KDAs to True Damage to sessions now to doing our world's anthems. It's really inspired by like, what do we think music could be? Music's really powerful. And so it came down to, hey, if we want a full listening experience, it's got to be a full listening experience. It's got to have a ton of music. It's got to be a full catalog drop, which is very different than like some of our other stuff. And thankfully, like our team, we're still kind of a lean team, so to speak. We're not a large team by any manner. But, big kudos to kind of everyone on the team who really chased down, built the relationships with these artists. And really, it was really something for the community. We're really excited about it. And like, I actually didn't know how many songs we were going to end up with. And then when they came with like, I think it's going to be around 30 or something, I was like, that's freaking amazing if so. And so, yeah, we landed at like 39 for this specific drop. So I think it's just driven by pure, like, let's make an awesome experience for our fans and players.
Well, and what was the work like working with these artists? Because I think I'm guessing this is also a pretty good opportunity for some of them as well, because maybe a lot of people are familiar with their like. I can hear something and I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's from that YouTube video that I put on repeat. But this is kind of cool in that I'm guessing you guys are working with these artists as a way of almost like helping to highlight them too.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually part of the cool thing about this is, for us, it really was just building really cool relationships with some of the artists too, that like we had got to know their music prior to this. And it's kind of like, man, it'd be super cool. Like he would fit so well, or she would fit so well. And, getting the response that we did of some of them actually playing League, or just loving like no League very well, or some of them playing TFT or Wild Rift or many of the other games, now even Valorant. We found out more and more like some of these artists are actually part of our community. And it was really cool to just like work with them. And like you said, kind of all boats kind of rise in this, right? Like our players get a ton of cool music, or content creators as well, streaming. They can listen to it in the background and not worry about it. But then also like some of these kind of up and coming, and even some, well-known, but maybe the names aren't known, also get kind of this, big awareness driver for them and stuff like that. So it is a cool project where there's a lot of value being driven kind of everywhere on it. So.
Is Sessions a franchise now? Is there going to be Sessions Teemo and other Sessions coming out in the future?
I mean, that's what we're aiming to do. We're using this as a way to learn. We want to see kind of the reaction. And for us, Sessions too, like Vi is like the aesthetic to an extent, right? In that scene, like there could be a Teemo, it may not even be limited to champions, really. I think we really want to leave it open to what creatively could be done, what could artists as well as ourselves be really inspired by. And so we think really it's made about sessions, and then what's that vibe going to be? Yeah. So yeah.
I would
is
not.
There a chance? Sorry, is there a chance we'll get like a drum and bass session where the whole album is like this super fast, like go at it stuff, or high energy?
I mean, you never know, like where you can take this. Right, we're definitely in this vibe and chill phase right now, because we felt like a lot of people, and when we even what we've even kind of noticed, watching even streamers playing, again, I'll be talking about TFT again, but, they were listening kind of to easy listening music. There's something about kind of the laid back experience, right? So there's music that's kind of more upfront, like, some of our KDA's True Damage. It's very engaging. You're listening to it. Then there's some music that's just like parked in the background. And there's a lot of engagement around there. And so this is really at least at first right now, is the space that we're kind of trying to build a catalog around, is like music that you can kind of have in the background. But you never know, because like that could be a super cool idea. It's like doing a more drum and bass aesthetic. I mean, that kind of reminds me of, it's not one for one, but if you remember War Songs we did back in early 2016, I want to say.
Yeah.
The inspiration behind that was kind of basically at risk of dating myself of my age, but if in more traditional sports, especially basketball, if you go to a live game, they play these songs from like the 90s. Some people may think they're kind of wonky, kind of funny. It's like, boom, there it is. It's all these really fun songs, but for them, that's like when they know it's time to warm up, to get hyped, to play. And so that was like music to get hyped for before competing. And so War Songs was kind of that for us. Like, well, what is it? 2016 though, when EDM was really big, and like electronic music, and esports was definitely on the rise. Travis, you were definitely there for all of that, and that's what War Songs was for us. So you never know where we could end up with this as far as like the different types of explorations. I think that's what's kind of exciting.
I hope you do more of these so that I can ask Broden to parody them by creating an NA solo queue session. It's terribly discordant and painful to listen to. Just stick that on my channel for an hour. No, I mean, it's funny because as you've been talking about this, and as I was listening to it, I was really reminded of War Songs is an example of something you guys have done, but also the DJ Sona stuff that came out many years ago. Nosage Thing, I think, was one of the artists. I really like that stuff, and so having and listened to it a ton, and so having this, I think, is also really neat. So there's a chance we get more of this in the future, is what I'm hearing, which I'm very excited about. I mean, it must be, as an aside, it must be a dream job for you to just be able to work at this place where you're like, yeah, there's no business reason to do this, but we just thought it was a cool idea.
I mean, yeah, I think we look at like what business reasons are probably a little bit different than traditional places. I mean, the way I kind of frame it is value. You can say money is value, of course, but there's other things that can be value, right? Value for the players, value for the fans, and whatnot. So my big thing is, are we creating value? And that's the space we want to play in, and whatnot. And I think we are building business value for actually, the artists that we're working with. It's not that like we're, when people stream on Spotify, for example, as they're listening to it, there is revenue that's being made. And so the artists, again, as being pro artists, this is helping to kind of lift artists as well in this. So I definitely don't want to take away and say like, oh, it's just free. We don't care about it. Ultimately, it's about value overall in this. And that's what we're really trying to build here. So, yeah.
No, that's very good. Where can people find this stuff?
Yeah, so it's everywhere. It will be on Spotify, Apple. It's also on our newly released Riot Games music channels, which is on YouTube, as well as we have social channels. But as far as listening on YouTube, there will be kind of the full hour, 45-minute or whatever kind of YouTube video will be there as well. So pretty much everywhere that streaming music exists, it should be on there. Very
good. Well, thank you so much for the interview. Excited to, we had a chance to listen and preview to 4 or 5 of the tracks, but excited to listen to the full thing by the time this video comes out. And I really appreciate you sitting down with me today. Thank you as well, Broden, for helping to ask some questions and make sure I don't embarrass myself. And for everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things League of Legends right here on my YouTube channel. Howdy. It's me, Travis Gafford. I live in Southern California, but we don't have a southern draw. I don't know where I'm going with this. Listen, please do me a favor and sign up for Alienware Arena. You can do so by clicking the link in the description of this video, and then clicking at the very top of that page, very, very top, there's going to be a logo that just says Alienware Arena. If you click that, you can sign up. And if you've already signed up, please go check it out, because they basically have different stuff going through there every week that you can get. You can earn. You don't have to have an Alienware computer. In fact, this is a really great way to help support me by supporting Alienware without going out and spending money on a computer, because maybe you're not in the situation right now where you need to do that. Hopefully in the future you will be, for everyone. That would be great for me and you and Alienware. But this is a cool way that you can sign up. We love it when people sign up for Alienware Arena. Thanks for watching.